It is like a finger pointing away to the moon. Don't concentrate on the finger or you will miss all that heavenly glory. Empty your mind, be formless, shapeless, like water, water, like water, like water, like water. Water can flow or it can crash. Be water, my friend. Empty your mind, be formless, shapeless, like water. Water can flow or it can crash. Empty your mind, be formless, shapeless, like water. Be water, my friend. Running water never goes stale, so you gotta just keep on flowing. Oftentimes people come up and say, hey Bruce, are you really that good? I said, well, if I tell you I'm good, probably you will say I'm boasting. When I look around, I always learn something, and that is to be always yourself and to express yourself, to have faith in yourself. Do not go out and look for a successful personality and duplicate him. Now, that seems to me that that is the prevalent thing happening in Hong Kong. Like they always copy mannerisms, but they never start from the very root of his being, and that is, how can I be me? You see, actually, I do not teach, karate because I do not believe in styles anymore. I mean, I do not believe that there is such thing as like Chinese way of fighting or the Japanese way of fighting or whatever way of fighting, because unless human beings have 3 arms and 4 legs, we will have a different form of fighting. But basically, we have only 2 hands and 2 feet. So styles tends to not only separate man, because they have their own doctrines, and then the doctrine became the gospel truth, that you cannot change, And But if you do not have styles, if you just say, well, here I am, you know, as a human being, how can I express myself totally and completely? Now, that way, you won't create a style, because style is a crystallization, you know. I mean, that way, it's a process of continuing growth.
Do you think of yourself Chinese, or do you ever think of yourself as North American?
You know what I want to think of myself? As a human being. Because, I mean, I don't want to sound like, you know, as Confucius say, but under the sky, under the heaven, man, there is but one family. Be formless, shapeless, like water. Now, you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Now, water can flow, or it can crash. Be water, my friend.
He's secret, actually. He's not going to go deeper in that, because if he goes, he's going to be talking about how the fourth dimension works, and that's how he got killed. Okay? In 1984, an article in Black Belt magazine called Kung Fu Pressure Point Attacks, written by Jan Hallander, theorized that Bruce Lee may have been a victim of a true death touch. Let's face it, guys, he knew the death touch, and he was fighting all over the world, making movies and making money. While it is well known that Lee clashed with Chinatown's leaders over teaching martial arts to the Westerns, it is less known that Lee had a standing open invitation to any challengers. His match may have been met when he fought an old Chinese man 2 weeks before he died. His last film, Game of Death, was aptly named. The story emerged possibly from the article of his students as a witness. Wow. There were students of his that watched this battle that lasted over an hour, and it was brutal. It is believed by some that Lee was hit with the dim mak, and that the old man was actually an assassin from the Chinese tongue. From there, his body began to slowly shut down. Intense headaches, would later reveal themselves to be a brain edema. This legend would inspire the exploitation film Fist of Fear, Touch of Death, and countless debates in living rooms and forums alike. Well, so what happened is, this guy over here, he knew too much, and he was making a lot of money with that, you know, with that knowledge, movies and stuff, and, you know, he could, you know, fight anyone. He could, like, kill 20 people.
I think all our society is run by insane people for insane objectives. You know? And I think that's what I sussed when I was 16 and 12 way down the line. But I expressed it differently all through my life. It's the same thing I'm expressing all the time. But now I can put it into that sentence that I think we're being run by maniacs for maniacal ends, you know. If anybody can put on paper what our government and the American government, etc., and the Russian, Chinese, what they are actually trying to do, you know, and what they think they're doing, I'd be very pleased to know what they think they're doing. I think they're all insane, you know, but I'm liable to be put away as insane for expressing that. You know, that's what's insane.
Died because he was going to expose that the earth was a lie. Now, bear with me and let me explain why. I don't want to go into all those Beatles conspiracy details. There are too many, way too many, and we would spend countless hours on them. That could lead us actually away from what we're looking at. Okay, so let's just take into consideration that John Lennon was a dreamer. Indeed. And he was in a band called the Beatles. And the Beatles are common bugs depicted in ancient Egypt. Now let me read it for you here, guys. This is very interesting. Scarabs were the popular amulets in ancient Egypt. They survive in large numbers, and through their inscriptions and typology, they are an important source of information that for archaeologists and historians of the ancient world. They also represent a significant body of ancient art. For some reason that is not exactly clear, amulets in the form of scarab beetles had become enormously popular in ancient Egypt by the early Middle Kingdom, approximately 2000 before Christ. Now, let's just remember that in ancient Egypt, they believed that the earth was a disc. It was flat. In early Egyptian and Mesopotamian times, they thought that the world was portrayed as a flat disc floating in the ocean. So not only John Lennon was part of a band which represents a flat disc, he speaks about it in his song Imagine. I'm going to read it for you. Imagine there is no heaven. It's easy if you try. No hell below us. Above us, only sky. Imagine all the people living for today. Imagine there is no countries. It isn't hard to do. Nothing to kill or die for. So actually, John Lennon is telling you that it is all bullcrap. Right? And he's actually rubbing it in our faces. Now, you may say, I am a dreamer, but I am not the only one. And I hope someday you will join us, and the world will be as one. Now this is the part I show you the UN map, the UN flag, and I tell you, my friend, he knew what he was talking about. He was talking about flat Earth. Now his band name, I'm going to repeat it again, his band had a name, the Beatles, which represented as an amulet in the ancient Egyptian times where they believed that the earth was a flat disc. Now let me just finish this and we will continue. Imagine no possessions, I wonder if you can, no need for greed or hunger, a brotherhood of man. Imagine all the people sharing all the world. Okay, so you may say I am a dreamer. I'm going to finish here. You may say I am a dream, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you will join us and the world will live as one. Well, so there are other dreamers. This is just for sure. Yeah, this is for sure. They all died, by the way. Jesus, Bruce Lee. I've spoken about them already. Now it's time for people to know John Lennon was one of them too. Of course, he knew about it. The earth was not exactly as round as it seems, and that all these agencies are actually lying to us. Now, some even believe that Yoko Ono had something to do with his death. Who knows? The Chinese tongue were responsible for bruises, so whatever happened, it's all messed up. What the hell is that based on? We couldn't have come from anything. Fish maybe, but not monkeys. Now when he says about fish, he's talking about the fish gods from the Tassili desert, right? Or who knows? Or from the Dogon tribe, right? I'm just gonna continue. I don't believe in the evolution of fish to monkeys, from monkeys to men. Why aren't monkeys changing into men right now? It's absolute garbage. Oh, this is John Lennon speaking. And leaving trails, breadcrumb trails, like, like, hey guys, the earth is not what it seems. Now, he was killed for this, I'm pretty sure. And he goes on, so who is this man who at this point in the 60s knew that, all along they were lying to us? And he wanted to speak the truth, but he was killed before all that happened. The evidences are too strong. We can't just back away now that it all keeps adding up. DIY rockets have proven at more than 10 kilometers high altitude that the earth is flattish. So, could John Lennon have known about it somehow, and in the aftermath of it all, this led him to get, to his death. Well, anyway, thank you very much for watching.
So this is going to be about the flat Earth and mirrors, and how we can use the attributes of a mirror to prove, beyond a doubt, that the Earth is flat. And what are the properties of a plane? This is a plane mirror. What are the properties of a plane mirror?
Scientists vote that the Earth is flat.
World you think. It's been proven by science already in quantum physics and even in the experiments of them trying to find the boson and everything with CERN, that as long as the observer is observing, then the reality will be created.
I know it sounds crazy.
Is flat.
Take an ordinary mouse and put it into a glass cage. It doesn't have to be a mouse. It could be a snake, a lizard, an insect. It makes little difference for this exercise. People identify with mice because they're used to seeing them in lab experiments. Mice also don't have any sinister connotations. They're seen as relatively innocent and benign, the perfect test subject, as it were. I have yet to meet anyone who has a bias against a lab mouse. So the mouse goes into the box for the first time, and the reaction is always the same. It explores its surroundings, and more importantly, tests the barrier around it, probing for exits or potential exits. The mouse inspects every inch of its new glass home, and at some point settles into the acceptance that the walls are indeed solid, and that it may be there for a while. Every so often, it will repeat the process, again checking the boundaries of the cage, just in case something has changed. What it doesn't do is act like it would in the wild, because it realizes that it's in a form of captivity. The glass box doesn't even remotely resemble its natural environment. You could put this box in the middle of a forest and the mouse may feel slightly better about its situation, but it still knows that it's been trapped against its will, and will settle into a non-native lifestyle. You could take all the other small animals that could be substituted for a mouse, the snake, the lizard, the insect. It makes no difference. The result will invariably be the same. repeated probing for escape routes, then acceptance. Take the same animal and now put it into the middle of a 100-mile square wildlife preserve, surrounded on all sides by a similar type of glass enclosure. The creature doesn't even bother to rush the size of the preserve and start testing the boundaries, mostly because it's out of visual range. It could be days or even weeks before it even encounters a single fence. The animal's routine is spent doing what it normally would do. It eats, it sleeps, it breeds. It does everything that it would naturally do in the wild. If one day the animal approaches the fence, there might be some curiosity, but any anxiety is quickly resolved by just turning around and heading back into the vast expanse from which it came. The fence does not pose a potential problem for the animals in the preserve because it is so small compared to the expanse they live in, and dwelling on it doesn't hold any interest. We're assuming here that the fence is high enough to discourage flying creatures as well, deep enough to stop burrowing classes, and if you want, reaches the floor of any nearby bodies of water, stopping any clever aquatic types. The point here is that all creatures great and small inside a giant wildlife preserve, when encountering the fence, wouldn't care. They would all, in their own way, just shrug and move on with their lives. However, if you take a human, male or female, regardless of education or nurturing, and put them in the exact same wildlife sanctuary, the response would be quite different. When the human approaches the glass fence, they don't see it as a minor distraction. They pause, they wonder, and more importantly, they ask questions, either internally or amongst others. Why is the fence here? How far does it reach? Can I dig underneath, or climb over, or go around it? These questions continue in a way you might imagine, but eventually a bigger question jumps to the top of the list. Who built the fence? It is that which changes not only the type of questions being asked, but how the human being, or beings, look at their world. The giant wildlife preserve suddenly gets smaller. Each new fence border discovered starts to artificially constrict their expanse, even though the dimensions haven't changed. Before long, the preserve, their home, loses some of its relevance. The fence is a reminder of the unknown. It provokes fear and endless speculation within the human. Given enough time, the importance of the preserve continues to be reduced, especially in relation to the fence. And the reason why it's so engrossing for the human is simple. It's there. It's real. They can see it, and maybe even touch it. Adding more humans to the equation increases the disparity of the situation by orders of magnitude. Have you seen the fence? Do you know how long it's been here? Have you ever known anyone that's been outside it? It's older than us. Who is responsible for the fence? What can we do to appease the group that created it? You can see what this might lead to. A long-lasting group hysteria would entrench itself within the population, grab hold and never let go. The fence is bigger, older, and wiser than they are. It humbles them, it angers them, and it is forever. It is their proof of a higher power. Maybe not God, but certainly God-like. No civilization, regardless of technology, discipline, or age, would be able to cope with the existence of it. For the human psyche, there are just too many questions that go unanswered. Life would never be able to progress normally. To summarize, a garden variety wildlife preserve would work for 99.99% of all the world's life forms. For human beings, however, you would need to make some modification.
Through time-lapse photography, the velocity of these clouds has been dramatically increased. While they were actually drifting over the mountains at approximately 27 miles per hour, they now have the appearance of moving at well over 100, 4 times their normal speed. If the clouds were stationary and the Earth was revolving underneath them, this is how it would appear if the Earth was spinning at 100 miles per hour. Yet we're told that the Earth is spinning at 10 times that speed. Consider this. Those who maintain that the Earth is a globe that spins suggest that people standing at the equator are being whirled around at approximately 1,000 miles an hour. They further maintain that the Earth is spinning around the Sun at a speed of 67,000 miles per hour, and that our sun is supposedly racing around the center of our galaxy at some 600,000 miles per hour. And yet, you and I both know that on many days it's possible to stand outside without a single hair being messed up by the breeze.
You put your hand outside a window of a car, which is going even at 80 kilometers per hour. A terrific wind goes blasting by and pushes your hand back. Imagine putting your hand outside the window of a car that's going 1,600 kilometers per hour. You just take your hand right off.
Okay. Okay, so you have your three planes of existence. The one plane then that all three come into contact with, I'll make highlight and then bring over to the side. You can see that that's no more than the idea of the DNA as well. It's also the idea of you have from nothing, you have the idea of a point. This point being right here. Okay. Hold on. Okay. So that idea being right there, so that's your 1 into 2 making your 3, or your first triangle. Okay, 3 points making an angle. Okay. Then that goes into the 4, the door, the 5 being the 4 into the 1. Okay. Then that door leading you into the cube idea. Okay. With the mirrored opposite, think if you're looking at light, or I'm sorry, if you're looking at the idea of movement in a gas column, if I have my first repeat and my second repeat, which is brought into existence, the third repeat left open goes into the unknown. Okay? So that's that. At the right angle. Alright, and here's that picture. To make sure that you are clear on this, this precludes the idea of concave or convex for the foundation. That's a fact. Do not let any of these charlatans fool you. You're looking at an illusion of a dip. Do you see that in the picture I drew? That's a flat surface, but if you look at it, you can see that it dips. That's an illusion. That's what your eye creates. Remember that distance I told you between the two? Okay, so now you saw that created the horizon line, which was that reflective C that you saw. That then flipped mirrored opposite, CC, the 33, creating the dual idea. Alright? Look into the distance, you can see with your own eyes that everything that's above that level I was at, which was just about 300 feet, has now come into view, and you are able to see it quite clearly, aren't you? As far as you want to see it, and that the start of the hill, that it goes up to about 500 to 600 feet, depending on if you're looking all the way to the left. All right. So that can give you an idea of exactly how far you're looking. If that range had been another 100 miles, east, I would see that much farther. And if it was 100 miles farther, I'd see that much farther. You're only blocked by things that rise into your vision, and you're not able to see, of course, through them. So then it stops right there. But at least now that you've seen that with this picture that you're being shown, look at just if you haven't really looked at what I'm showing you, please look at it again. You have to understand what you're looking at here to understand the gravity of this, to use the word, right? Understand what you're looking at, please. You're living on a flat plane, otherwise what I just did would not be possible. Look at this. Stacked on top of stacked. That's flat. Brought into life. over the reflection of an imaginary sea. You do see that now, right? No more. No more at all. One word of contention, you're gone, period. I don't care. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to miss you, period. I don't even know you. Alright, so say something stupid and you're gone. Do not see what I've shown you and you're gone. Continue following liars, you're gone. Alright? You'll have nothing to do with me and I don't care. Alright, I'm done with it. So many of you people don't do anything. You are consumers. You are consumers. You're shown the truth and you mock it. The truth is the truth if no one believes it. Now, to get out of this lie, Jesus Christ gives you the Comforter. Gives you that way out, man. Bye. Okay, so if you still believe in the ever-expanding universe, get out. If you still think the Earth, after seeing what I just showed you, is a ball, get out. If you think it's convex, concave, get out. Last time I tell you. Once you start something off the flat, it becomes a curve, and it's going to meet on the other side at some point. So then, therefore, what can you do? You see that you live on a plane, a flat. You understand that you have lights above you that go around you through gates. These are electrical gates, not like garden gates. Electrical gates which move the sunlight, the moonlight, the star lights, the planets, which are just lights, images, moving images. They're moved through gates. It's electrical, please understand that. Magnetic power. North creates a square in the center. North-south creates a circle in the center. Both creating then waves around them. Taking into account all the effects you speak about. Every single time you see something that says, man, that's it, that's the final proof, you're going to tell people that they need to go somewhere, off into the distance, some land far, far away to get the truth, when it's that statement that you just made is untrue. You can do it anywhere you want to. If you're looking for the truth, you will find it. If you're not looking for the truth, you'll make it up, and you'll listen to other people. So, yeah, I'm dealing with the lowest common denominator. It's just not worth it. A lot of people that are contending with me are doing it, still wearing their paper hats from work. So what have you ever done? What have you ever proven? I think you'll find out that all you've ever done and proven to be is a pain in the ass to people that you've been looking down your nose at, because somehow you think that you know something and you don't know anything. You don't know anything that's real.
This model of the Earth that was made is fake and gay. I don't care how many times they put it into the science books. It's still fake and it's still gay. I don't care how many times they put it in the news when they're not even talking about Apollo 17. They're just talking about some bullshit with the Earth, and there it is. It's from the 70s, and they're showing it in modern times. 2014, 2015, 2016, it's not going to matter. You'll see this image in the news. Play video games and you'll see this fake and gay shit in video games too. Apollo 17, there it is! But of course, because NASA is super gay, super fake, they made a composite computer model, and they're happy to tell the public that this is not a real image of Earth from space. And you will see this fake and gay shit on everything. So the Apollo 17 image of Earth from space is now married with this bullshit. Now we have two fake and gay images that you will see repeatedly in your science books. They show this on the covers of science books all over the world. Your tax money gets stolen and it funds fraud. You're paying for fucking fraud that's shown all over the world.
Folks, this is James for the Impossible Channel. The object that you are seeing is not the moon. The moon is supposed to be 50% lit on March 3rd, and that was not the moon. So why the excessive chemtrailing, right? This is one of the questions a lot of you have been asking. Why the excessive chemtrailing? Why the pink sky? Why hasn't gravity been affected? Why don't we see tidal waves? Why are the tides still normal, supposed to be normal? Well, folks, this is one of the big secrets that the secret societies, like the Vril Society, the Knights Templars and all that, they don't want you to know. The Illuminati, right? We have another sun, we always did, and it comes from another district. And on this footage right now, from February 3rd, 2017, the same Alaska webcam, you're going to see an object that shows out of nowhere and gets as big as the sun, and it disappears, it's said. So what's happening is, the truth is, folks, we have 4 poles. We don't have 2 poles. We have more than 2 poles, magnetic poles, and we live on a bigger Earth. I don't know the shape, but they want to keep this a secret. And the biggest evidence that I can show you right now is this, as you are watching object that shows from out of nowhere in the sky, and it grows, and it gets bigger, and it grows a little bit more, and then it sets. That is not the moon, it's not the sun, and they're gonna say it's Venus. It's not Venus. It's not Venus. This isn't supposed to be Venus. If it is, then it's even worse. Maybe, folks, but as you can see, this object shows up from out of nowhere as a small star, and then it grows, and it grows as big as the sun, and it sets as if it were the sun, but it's not the moon and the sun. So the only explanation we could give you for this object getting bigger is if it's coming from another district and the poles are changing. So in Pinela's webcam we have the same object, and we're going to leave you with the rest of the footage, but this is responsible for the pink skies. And now you can tell all your friends and family, that you're not crazy if you have seen a midnight sunrise, or some sort of light coming from the horizon, a pink light coming from the horizon at night. Some people, like Steve Quinlan, have had the luck of capturing this with our sun setting together. So this is a question of watching, observing, and taking notes and taping it, being there, right? Because it is out there. But if you have wondered till now if you were crazy, well, you aren't. And this is the object that's causing the pink sunrise or sunset or midnight sunrise, okay? And now you can tell all your friends that you were right. You know, this was not an illusion, and it is being hid by chemtrails. Obviously, because they don't want you to see it and they do not have control over it. So, folks, I'm sorry if I'm, revealing too much data here, too much information, but this is it. This is the best I can do right now. There is not going to be a world destruction. I don't think so. But things are going to change. Because if you start seeing this with your naked eye, how is the government going to react? So I'm going to leave you with the rest of the video, and thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to share. Comment below what you think about it, leave a comment, and I'll see you again. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe and press the bell button. See you.